Imagine a world where nothing can disturb your inner peace. A world where chaos, noise, and turmoil swirl around you. You remain unmoved, centered like a mountain amidst a storm. For most, this is an unattainable dream, but for a rare few, this is reality. These individuals have mastered the art of the unshakable mind, living with a kind of serenity and strength that seems almost superhuman. They have developed a set of habits that protect them from the emotional hurricanes that overwhelm the rest of us. What if you could be one of these people? What if you could train yourself to not just endure life's storms, but to face them with a calm and steady resolve? The answer lies in the mastery of 7 profound habits. These are not simple routines. They are profound ways of living that transform your very core. They require deep thought, self-reflection, and consistent practice. They are habits shaped by the wisdom of the ages, crafted by philosophers, warriors, and sages who understood the complexities of the human mind and spirit. These habits will take you on a journey, not just of self-improvement, but of self-mastery. And on this path, you will discover that the greatest fortress you can ever build is the one within yourself. Let us explore these 7 habits, each one a cornerstone of an unshakable mind. Let us begin with the first habit, the discipline of perception. Habit 1. The discipline of perception. To master life, we must first master how we see it. The discipline of perception is the foundational habit for cultivating an unshakable mind. It is about training yourself to see things clearly, without the distortions of fear, anger, ego, or preconceived notions. This habit teaches us that reality, in its purest form, is neutral. It is neither good nor bad, neither friend nor foe. It simply is. What gives reality its emotional charge is how we choose to interpret it. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and one of history's great Stoic philosophers, often reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Here, Marcus Aurelius is pointing to the core of this habit. Most people believe that the events of their lives control them. They think that happiness, sadness, anger, or peace is a result of what happens to them. But those who practice the discipline of perception know differently. They understand that everything is perception. To develop this habit, you must first learn to question your initial reactions. When something happens, whether it's a harsh comment from a friend, a failed project at work, or an unexpected life event, your mind immediately forms a story around it. "This is bad," it says, or "this is unfair." But what if you paused for a moment? What if, instead of accepting the mind's narrative, you stepped back and asked, "Is this really true? Or is this just one way to see it?" This practice is about creating a space between the event and your reaction. It's about realizing that you have a choice in how you perceive things. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, famously said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." This space is where the discipline of perception lives. Imagine the power of this habit. Someone insults you. Most people would immediately feel hurt or angry. But a person practicing this habit would pause. They would recognize the insult for what it is, a projection of the other person's insecurities or frustration. Instead of reacting with anger, they might respond with curiosity or even compassion, understanding that the insult is more about the other person than themselves. This doesn't mean you ignore reality or become passive. It means you see things as they are, without the added drama. If there is a problem, you acknowledge it and address it, but you do so from a place of clarity, not emotion. You learn to detach yourself from the knee-jerk reactions and instead respond thoughtfully and intentionally. This is true power. This is freedom. Developing the discipline of perception also means being aware of the stories your mind tells you. Our minds are master storytellers. We have stories about who we are, about what other people think of us, about what we are capable of, and about what the future holds. But these stories are often just that, stories. They are not facts. They are not truth. And the more we identify with them, the more we suffer. Consider the story of the Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who was born a slave and faced unimaginable hardships. Yet he lived a life of peace and contentment because he understood the power of perception. Epictetus taught that it is not the events themselves that disturb us, but the way we view them. He once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." He knew that by controlling his perception, he could control his inner state, regardless of his external circumstances. To practice this habit, start small. Notice how your mind reacts to minor annoyances: a traffic jam, a delayed flight, a rude cashier. Instead of getting upset, observe your thoughts. Ask yourself, is this reaction helping me? Is there another way to see this? Over time, as you practice this on small things, you'll find that you can apply it to bigger challenges as well. By mastering the discipline of perception, you reclaim your power. You become the master of your mind, not its slave. And when you control your perception, you control your experience of life. Nothing external can shake you because you decide what meaning to give it. Habit 2, the practice of detachment. The second habit is perhaps the most counterintuitive yet profoundly liberating, the practice of detachment. This habit is about freeing yourself from the need to control the uncontrollable. It is about letting go of the attachment to outcomes, people, and things. It is about understanding that true freedom comes not from holding on, from letting go. At its core, detachment is the recognition that everything in life is impermanent. The things we cherish most, relationships, achievements, possessions, are all fleeting. They can provide moments of joy, but they can also be the source of immense suffering when we cling to them. The Bhagavad Gita, one of the greatest spiritual texts from ancient India, offers a powerful lesson on detachment. You have a right to your labor, but not to the fruits of your labor. This means you should act with full dedication and integrity, but you must not become attached to the results. Imagine a warrior going into battle. His focus is not on the outcome of the war, but on the battle itself. He knows that he has control over his actions, his strategy, and his courage, but not over whether he will live or die, win or lose. This understanding gives him a calm that others do not possess. He fights fiercely, but his peace is untouched by the chaos around him. This is the essence of detachment. Detachment is often misunderstood as indifference or lack of passion, but in truth, it is the opposite. A detached person can love deeply, work passionately, and engage fully with life, but without being enslaved by the fear of loss or the craving for more. It is not about being emotionless. It is about not being ruled by emotions. Practice detachment. You must start by recognizing your attachments. Look at your life, your relationships, your career, your ambitions. Where are you holding on too tightly? Where do you feel that you must have a certain outcome? When you identify these attachments, ask yourself, what would happen if I let go? What if I accepted things as they are instead of how I want them to be? Consider the story of a man clinging to a branch hanging over a cliff. Below him is a deep ravine. Above him, branch slowly breaks, clings on desperately, fearing death if he lets go. But what if there is a ledge just a few feet below that he cannot see? His fear blinds him to the possibility of safety just within reach. In the same way, our attachments often blind us to the alternatives available to us. When we let go, we often find a new path, a new opportunity, a new peace. Detachment also means understanding the transient nature of all things. We suffer when we try to hold on to something that is inherently impermanent. Flower blooms, but it also wilts. The sun rises, but it also sets. We enjoy the presence of our loved ones, but they too will one day leave. Detachment is not about avoiding these experiences, but about embracing them fully, knowing that they are temporary and that this temporariness is what makes them precious. Buddha taught that attachment is the root of all suffering. He did not mean that we should not care about anything. Instead, he meant that we should not attach our happiness to anything that can be lost. This doesn't mean we should not strive or hope. It means we should strive with detachment, love with freedom, and hope without expectation. To begin practicing detachment, start small. Notice the little things you're attached to: your morning coffee, your routine, your possessions. Then try to go a day without them. Observe how you feel. Is there anxiety? Resistance? Practice letting go of the need for things to be a certain way. Over time, This practice will strengthen your ability to detach from the bigger things. Remember, the goal is not to become a detached person. Use detachment as a tool for greater freedom. When you master this habit, you will find a profound sense of peace. You will engage fully with life, but without the fear of loss or the need to control. You will be free. Habit 3. Power of inner silence. In a world filled with noise, distraction, and constant demands, the third habit, the power of inner silence, is a refuge. This habit is about cultivating a stillness within yourself, a space that remains untouched by the chaos outside. It is about creating a sanctuary in your own mind where you can retreat to recharge, reflect, and realign. Silence is not just the absence of sound, it is the presence of something deeper. It is the calm that allows wisdom to surface, clarity to emerge, and creativity to flow. The ancient sages and mystics understood this well. They would retreat to the mountains, deserts, and forests to find that inner silence, to connect with something greater than themselves. In today's world, you don't need to go to such extremes, but you do need to create moments of silence amidst the noise. To understand the power of inner silence, consider the analogy of a muddy pond. When the water is agitated, it becomes murky and unclear. But if you let it settle, the mud sinks to the bottom and the water becomes clear. The same is true for our minds. When we are constantly bombarded by thoughts, worries, and distractions, our minds become cloudy. But when we practice silence, our minds settle and clarity emerges. The modern world is not conducive to silence. We are constantly connected, always multitasking, always consuming information. But the truth is, most of this noise is unnecessary. It distracts us from our true selves and prevents us from hearing the whispers of our inner wisdom. Power of inner silence is about reclaiming that space. It is about turning down the volume of the world and tuning into the still, small voice within. To cultivate this habit, start with simple practices. Set aside a few minutes each day to sit in silence. This is not meditation in the strict sense. It's simply being quiet. No music, no podcasts, no distractions. Just sit and be present. Observe your thoughts without judgment. Notice how they come and go, like clouds passing through the sky. Over time, as you practice this daily silence, you'll find that your mind becomes calmer, your thoughts less frantic, and your inner world more peaceful. Another powerful practice is mindful walking. Take a walk in nature without your phone or any distractions. Listen to the sounds of the birds, the rustle of the leaves, the rhythm of your footsteps. This practice helps you connect with the present moment and brings a sense of calm and grounding. Silence also involves learning to quiet the inner critic, the voice in your head that constantly judges, critiques, and worries. This voice often drowns out your deeper wisdom. When you practice inner silence, you learn to recognize this voice for what it is, a small, scared part of you that doesn't need to run the show. The greatest philosophers and thinkers understood the importance of silence. Blaise Pascal, the French philosopher, said, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone." He knew that in silence we confront ourselves, fears, our hopes, our true desires. And in that confrontation, we find strength, wisdom, and peace. Inner silence is not about avoiding the world. It's about engaging with it from a place of strength and clarity. When you have mastered this habit, you will find that you are less reactive, more thoughtful, and more present. You will carry a quiet strength within you that nothing can disturb. In this silence, you become unshakable. You find a stillness that is untouchable, peace that is unbreakable. You become like the eye of a hurricane, calm, centered, and powerful amidst the storm. Habit 4. The wisdom of non-reactivity. The fourth habit, the wisdom of non-reactivity, is a skill that takes a lifetime to master, but offers profound rewards. This habit is about developing the ability to pause before responding, to act from a place of wisdom rather than impulse. It is about choosing your response rather than reacting out of emotion or habit. In any given moment, you are faced with countless stimuli, comments from others, challenges, disappointments, praise, criticism. The immediate instinct is to react, often driven by our emotions or ego. But those who have mastered the wisdom of non-reactivity understand that reacting is a choice, not a compulsion. They have trained themselves to create a space between stimulus and response, to step back, breathe, and choose a response that aligns with their values and goals. This habit is deeply rooted in ancient Stoic philosophy. Seneca, another great Stoic philosopher, often reminded himself of the power of restraint. "Better to be silent and be thought a fool," he said, "than to speak and remove all doubt." The wisdom here is simple. Not every provocation requires a response. Not every emotion demands expression. There is strength in holding back, in choosing your battles, and in maintaining your composure. Practice this habit. Begin with small irritations. When someone cuts you off in traffic, instead of honking or yelling, pause. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, does this situation require my reaction? Will my reaction serve me, or will it only add to the chaos? In this pause, you reclaim your power. You become the master of your mind and emotions, not a slave to them. Over time, this practice extends to more significant challenges. When faced with criticism, instead of immediately defending yourself, you pause. You consider the feedback objectively. Is there truth in it? If not, you let it go. If there is, you use it to grow. When confronted with conflict, instead of reacting with anger, you step back and ask, what is the best response here? What outcome am I seeking? This shift in approach changes everything. The wisdom of non-reactivity also involves recognizing triggers, those situations or people that elicit strong emotional reactions in you. By becoming aware of your triggers, you can prepare yourself to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. This awareness is a powerful tool in maintaining your inner peace. In his book, Meditations, Marcus Aurelius frequently reflected on the idea of accepting things as they are and not allowing them to disturb his inner tranquility. He knew that by maintaining a calm and reasoned mind, he could face any challenge with composure. This is the essence of non-reactivity, not letting the external dictate your internal state. As you cultivate this habit, you will notice a shift in how you interact with the world. You become less reactive, more thoughtful, and more centered. You no longer get pulled into every drama or conflict. You become like a deep ocean, still on the surface, yet powerful and calm beneath. And in that stillness, you find the strength that nothing can disturb. Habit 5, the mastery of acceptance. The fifth habit is the mastery of acceptance. Acceptance does not mean resignation. It means understanding that there is a grander design at play, and that fighting against what is only creates suffering. This habit is about embracing reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. To master acceptance is to understand the nature of change. Life is in a constant state of flux. People come and go. Successes turn into failures. Joys turn into sorrows. To resist this natural ebb and flow is to resist life itself. The ancient Stoics had a powerful phrase for this, amor fati, love of fate. It means loving everything that happens, not just accepting it, but embracing it as necessary and meaningful. Imagine for a moment a river. When the water flows smoothly, it is a beautiful sight, calming and serene. But when there is an obstruction, when rocks or debris get in the way, the water still flows. It does not resist, it moves around, over, or under the obstacle, adapting to its path. In the same way, to master acceptance is to become like water, flow with life rather than against it. Acceptance is not passive. It is an active engagement with reality. It involves acknowledging the facts, understanding what is within your control, and letting go of the rest. Of finding peace with what is, and then deciding how to move forward from a place of clarity and wisdom. Consider a person who loses their job. The immediate reaction might be to resist, to fight against the reality of what has happened. This is unfair, they might think, or I don't deserve this. But this resistance only creates suffering. Instead, if they practice the mastery of acceptance, they acknowledge the reality of the situation. This has happened. It is what it is. Now, what can I do about it? This shift in perspective opens up new possibilities, new opportunities that were previously hidden by resistance. Acceptance also involves letting go of the need for things to be perfect. The perfect job, the perfect relationship, the perfect life. These are illusions. When you accept life as it is, with all its imperfections, you free yourself from the constant striving and dissatisfaction that comes from wanting things to be different. you find a profound sense of peace in the present moment, knowing that it is enough. Lao Tzu, the ancient Chinese philosopher, said, "If you want to be given everything, give up everything." This is the paradox of acceptance. By letting go of the need to control everything, you gain control over the most important thing, your inner state. To practice acceptance, start by observing where you resist reality. Where do you wish things were different? Notice the tension that comes from that resistance. Then, practice letting go. Say to yourself, "It is what it is." Breathe deeply and focus on what you can control: your actions, your thoughts, your attitude. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes, and the more unshakable you will be in the face of life's challenges. Habit 6. The cultivation of inner strength. The sixth habit is the cultivation of inner strength. This habit is about building a deep, unyielding core of resilience that allows you to face life's adversities with courage and grace. It is about knowing that no matter what happens, you have the strength within you to endure, to rise, and to overcome. Inner strength is not about physical toughness. It's about mental, emotional, and spiritual fortitude. It's about developing a mindset that is prepared for anything, a heart that is open to everything, and a spirit that is unbreakable. This strength does not come from avoiding pain or difficulty, from facing it head-on and learning from it. The ancient Stoics believed in the concept of premeditatio malorum, premeditation of evils. This practice involves imagining the worst-case scenarios in advance, not to dwell on them, but to prepare for them. By mentally preparing for adversity, you reduce its impact when it does happen. You are not caught off guard. You are ready. This practice builds inner strength because it teaches you that you can face anything. To cultivate inner strength, you must also develop a strong sense of self-reliance. This means trusting yourself, your abilities, your judgment, your values. It means knowing that you have what it takes to handle whatever comes your way. Self-reliance is not about isolating yourself from others, but about knowing that at the end of the day, you are your own best resource. Another aspect of cultivating inner strength is embracing discomfort. In a world that constantly seeks comfort and ease, those who embrace discomfort are the ones who grow the most. Whether it's physical discomfort, like cold showers or fasting, or emotional discomfort, like difficult conversations or facing fears, these experiences build resilience. They teach you that you are stronger than you think. Inner strength also comes from a sense of purpose. When you have a clear sense of what you stand for, what you value, and what you want to achieve, you become unshakable. Your purpose becomes your North Star, guiding you through the storms of life. Viktor Frankl, who survived the horrors of concentration camps, wrote in Man's Search for Meaning that those who have a why to live can bear almost any how. When you cultivate a deep sense of purpose, you build an inner strength that nothing can destroy. To begin cultivating this habit, start by facing small challenges intentionally. Take on something that scares you, something that pushes you out of your comfort zone. Over time, as you face and overcome these challenges, your inner strength will grow. You will develop a mindset that is unbreakable, a spirit that is unyielding, and a heart that is courageous. Habit 7. The art of self-reflection. The final habit, the art of self-reflection, is perhaps the most important of all. This habit is about creating a regular practice of looking inward, of examining your thoughts, actions, and motives. It is about understanding yourself on a deeper level, learning from your experiences and constantly evolving. Self-reflection is the cornerstone of personal growth. Without it, we are doomed to repeat the same mistakes, to live unconsciously, and to be driven by forces we do not understand. The ancient Greek philosopher Socrates famously said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." He knew that self-reflection is the key to wisdom and to living a life of purpose and meaning. To master the art of self-reflection, you must create a regular practice of introspection. This could be through journaling, meditation, or simply sitting in quiet contemplation. The goal is to look at your life with honesty and clarity. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are the patterns that keep repeating? What lessons have you learned? What do you still need to learn? Self-reflection also involves asking yourself deep, meaningful questions. What do I truly want in life? What is holding me back? What kind of person do I want to become? These questions force you to confront your true self, peel back the layers of ego, fear, and conditioning, and to see who you really are. This habit is not about self-judgment or criticism. It is about self-understanding and growth. It's about being compassionate with yourself, acknowledging your flaws, and working to improve them. It's about celebrating your victories, no matter how small, and learning from your failures, no matter how big. The great Stoic philosopher Seneca would often reflect on his day at night, asking himself what he did well, what he did poorly, and what he could do better. This practice allowed him to grow constantly and to live in alignment with his values. You too can adopt this practice. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to reflect. What did you learn today? What could you have done differently? How can you be better tomorrow? The art of self-reflection is a lifelong journey. It is not a destination, but a continual process of growth and evolution. When you master this habit, you become a student of life, always learning, always growing, and always becoming a better version of yourself. By cultivating these 7 habits, the discipline of perception, the practice of detachment, power of inner silence, the wisdom of non-reactivity, the mastery of acceptance, the cultivation of inner strength, and the art of self-reflection, you build an unshakable mind. You create a fortress within yourself that nothing external can penetrate. You become resilient, wise, and at peace. And in this state, you are truly free.